Hey there, good morning, friends, adventurers. Welcome back to your side quest contact. We're going to get a little dark and scary on this one here. We're going to be exploring Alien, the Alien role playing game. This is a sci fi based, horror themed role playing game. I had a chance to run this with one of my player groups, and we had a few good sessions of a campaign as we kind of explored the system and looked at what it means to be in a universe where these horrible xenomorph monsters live. So we're going to take the same approach. We're going to kind of talk about where it's at, what it's about, and then kind of get into things I liked and things I've done, and talk about Alien here. Now, if you're not familiar, I think most of us are, but the Alien franchise back in the day was Sigourney Weaver, going all the way up to I think it's Alien Covenant was the most recent one. From the Prometheus was kind of like the prequel, and then Alien Covenant was after that, and it actually goes into the time before the main Alien trilogy, and then following up with Alien Resurrection. Now, the franchise is good quality. Some movies, parts of some movies might be better than others, but by and large, like the first Alien, like that's a masterpiece, right? And then Aliens, the second one was really good. Alien, and like most trilogies, maybe the third one, I mean, it was still good, but and then they came out with Alien Resurrection, and then the prequels beyond that. And I liked those the prequels. I think Prometheus got a lot of criticism, but I thought it was all right. Same thing with Covenant. I liked the way they kind of present these xenomorphs coming into being. But let's talk about the role playing game. All right, so the role playing game it's based in the Earth Milky Way galaxy. So our standard real quote unquote real universe, but drawn up to be a horrific terrorscape. So Earth's at the center, right? So and then it assumes that humans have explored beyond Earth. We're in space age technology. We're not in a tech level like Star Trek level where you have like warp 9 point whatever, and you can cross the galaxy in a matter of But yeah, it's not like that. This is more of a gritty, grindy type of technology, right? You have dirty ships, right? If you think of like the Enterprise, it's pristine. Everything is spick and span and clean, and everything's running properly, unless a plot of an episode needs something to break. But other than that, the ship is just a beautiful, pristine, state-of-the-art ship. In Alien, our ships are old. They're rugged. They break down. They're dirty. You come out of you've never seen a greasy person in the Star Trek engineering room, right? No one's ever greasy or dirty. But here, yeah, you come out of work and you're covered in ship oil and different fluids and the stuff you guys you're repairing and maintaining the ship, which is an ongoing effort, right? So it's not these ships aren't state of the line super awesome ships. They're a little old. Now we have our galaxy map here. Let's kind of zoom in a little, and we have this showing kind of different. There are also some different political alignments or political entities now that humans have moved beyond Earth. We'll talk a little bit about that because it's good for the story. But yeah, where's Earth at? Earth. I think it was right. I saw it as I was looking over it earlier. Let's zoom in a little more. Sol. Here we are. Here's Earth. And we have our core worlds, and that are they're the elites, right? And the further out you go, the more distant and frontier the feel comes. Like in your core worlds, you're kind of in the center of interstellar civilization. All these worlds are somewhat up to date and modern, and then the further out you go, the more rustic and the more frontiery it becomes. Now let's kind of go back a little bit. I think the time is the year 21 something. Now, as we go through here, now the key thing, like here, the key themes of Alien we see here: horror, action wonder, right? That's all part of it. There's going to be a lot of action. I mean, because like you look at these people here, these little egg cases. That's just the prelude to some terrible things happening. That's where we get the horror, and we are exploring, right? It doesn't all have to be, we're running from xenomorphs. That doesn't have to be the entirety of the game, although it is a big part of it. So let's see here. Talking about characters, and there's a lot of good art in this book I like. Okay, here are like the classes, right? So Colonial Marine, Colonial Marshal, Company Agent. Everyone trusts this guy, right? The Company Agent. He's never a bad guy, right? A kid, like I like this concept, right? You're just kind of a stowaway kid, on a ship. You have your own little set of stats. Medics, yeah, you need definitely gonna need one of those. Officers, pilots, they're helpful. Roughnecks, they're going to keep the ship running. And your scientist. In an alien universe, right? The scientist, that's always another one of those, super trustworthy type of characters, right? The scientist is never up to anything bad in an alien universe, right? They never try to harvest xenomorph specimens for study, right? We're not going to get it down into the minutia of the game mechanics. But there's a few things I'm going to touch on here, like stress and panic. I like these rules here. So pushing your roll, like if you roll your dice and you don't accumulate any successes, you can opt to push again. So you can take the dice that didn't get successes and roll them again, hoping to try to get some successes in your roll. But doing that is elevating your stress level. You could also, even if you can also push your roll, even if you do succeed, but you want to try to get more successes on top of it. But doing so moves up your stress level. Your stress level also goes up for a variety of other reasons. And at some point, if your stress level gets too high, now we start making panic rolls. Whenever your stress, let me zoom in here. Where are we at here? See, pushing dice rolls a little like playing blackjack. It increases your chances of success, but if you push too hard, you suffer the consequences. And see, these consequences are triggering panic and losing control of your character. When you roll stress dice in a skill roll, okay, because yeah, you have to roll stress dice as part of it. And whenever you get the alien symbol, you must immediately make a panic roll. A panic roll can cause your skill to fail no matter how many successes you've rolled. And I think the different ways a character reacts to panic is based off of their character class. Each character class will have a different way. Like I remember, I think it was our player who was a colonial marine, who would just mow everything down, like with his machine gun. Like when he was in panic state, like you couldn't stop him from shooting. Like that was his panic. So let's kind of back out. So that I like that, and that's good to keep in track of in a game like this because stress and horror, or I should say, stress is a pivotal part of horror. Because not every scene is going to be terrible, right? We slowly raise that stress, we slowly raise that intensity, and then hit it with a big fight or something. Okay, there's more just kind of game rules. Got a list of skills. That's kind of traditional, right? You have a list of skills, things you can do: piloting, combat, mobility, observation, and such. Comtech, using the equipment. Talents, they are exactly what they imply. Special things about your character. If you're thinking D&D, think of a feat, something extra that you can put on your character. Some are general based, that any character class can pick them. Some are class based, so there are, like for example, colonial marine talents and just general talents. Company, yeah, so like company agents, colonial marine, kid talents, medic talents, and as you're building your character, you get to pick, some of these talents. Yeah, here's the general. Anyone can pick these. Combat and panic. Okay, this is a good one. For distance, kind of tries to use zones as opposed to like specific measurements, and I kind of like that, right? You know, I don't want to have to do too much math when I'm running a game, but I like here. Let me zoom in here so we can take a look. Like it gives you the distances. Like if you're engaged, that means the thing is right next to you. Short, a few meters away, in the same zone though. Medium, up to 25 meters, kind of in a different zone. The zone's further out. And then long range and then extreme range. Kind of just talks about, think of it in zones. Or if you prefer, you can measure things out. That's just as fine too. Whatever your method is. Let's see. Where was I? Okay. Stealth mode. See, look at that. I mean, who's going to face it? Who wants to face that thing? That thing's terrifying. And what has she got? She looks like she's got a pipe or a wrench. Yeah, that's going to be helpful. Which that could be a situation, right? Because remember in past videos I talked about I'm not much for resource management, and I'm not making you track your arrows, your food, unless I think it's necessary. In this game, yeah, it's necessary because that's part of it, right? Having your characters watch their resources dwindle away while this thing is lurking about hunting for them. Maybe maybe a few of these are out hunting for them and they're slowly watching their resources dwindle. That's never fun. Initiative rules. Okay, slow action, different types of actions. Again, not going to get too much in the initiative or into the minutia of the combat. Yeah, and this right here, that's not good. Right? If they're that close to you, it's almost done. This poor person here is not going to have a good day. One or two things might happen. This xenomorph may kill and eat this person, or the xenomorph may drag knock them out, drag them to the den where they have them all tied up and waiting for an egg to open up and then a face hugger to hit them. Yeah, it just depends on. We will talk about the xenomorphs here in a little bit because they are kind of neat. All right, different combat stuff here, ranged combat, ammo. I remember they had an interesting ammo rule. Let me kind of zoom in here. Okay, most firearms in the world or in this alien world have large enough magazines that you don't need to worry about counting individual bullets. However, when the tension rises, you risk wasting ammo and emptying your clip at the worst possible time. I think that's what was happening to our colonial marshal. Because he was so panicked, he couldn't keep his finger off the trigger. He kept draining his clips and having to reload often. So when you fire a weapon and you roll one of these, the stress die, looks like the little face hugger die, that means you've emptied your magazine after that attack and you need to reload. And you make a panic roll. So yeah, you're panicked, you're stressed. That's another big thing about the game is watching that build up, and then at certain moments you're going to lose. Your DM gets to say, all right, here's what your character does. You're panicked. Here's what's happening. We got some damage rules here. Critical injuries. So if a crit is rolled, there's a whole bunch of stuff that can happen to you. Permanent mental trauma. That's fun. Critical injuries, yeah. All right, here, so we get some stress and panic. Let's take a look at this rule. I'm going to kind of zoom in. This will be interesting. Okay, your stress level increases whenever one of these things happens. You push a skill roll, talked about earlier. You fire full burst or full auto from your weapon. You take damage. You go without sleep, food, or water. You perform a coup de grace. Or a scientist in your team fails to use the analysis trait. So if the scientist can't figure it out, that means everyone else is like, what? The scientist can't figure it out, and they start getting, more stressed. A member of your own crew attacks you. That's something. Oh, this is funny. A person nearby is revealed to be an android. Yeah, this is a time where like synthetic beings, androids and such, they're not so trusted. That's why they make them look human. And if someone then is revealed to be an android, well, hey, that makes everything more stressful. Because in the movies, the xenomorphs were the monsters, but the android was the villain. You create certain creatures or location. You encounter certain creatures or locations as determined. Okay, some things the DM might just say you get stress. So gaining stress. When you make a skill roll, you add a number of stress dice equal to your current stress level. Your stress makes you more focused, so you have a better chance to succeed, but there's also an equal chance that you roll one of the bad die and have to make a panic roll. Well, kind of like hunger and vampire, what we talked about. You have hunger dice, and if they roll certain things, that means certain bad things happen, even if you pass or succeed, or pass or fail the roll. Same kind of concept with this, where you have stress dice, and if the stress dice indicates something, well, now we have to make a panic check. We have to see if we're make you know if a panic is triggered, and for a moment, I'm going to take over your character and say, okay, here's what's happening, because you're not really in control at the moment. But it's not like permanent, right? It's maybe just like for a round. Like, okay, instead of your normal action you want to do, here's what you actually do, because you're panicked, you're not thinking straight. Okay, here's the panic roll. If you roll one or more of the face huggers on your stress dice, anytime you roll one or more of those, that you have to make a panic roll, and that's your stress. So you have like stress die. If you witness a friendly character suffering from a panic effect, so you see someone panic, that might mean you have to make a panic roll. It's horrible. I mean, good for story, but horrible for the players who have to go through it. Maybe you're pinned down in a ranged attack. That's a good reason to make a panic roll. You suffer a critical injury. You're attacked by a strange alien creature you've never seen before, or some true horrifying event. So if you roll a 10 or higher on your panic roll, you will be forced to perform a specific action. If the panic roll was a result of a skill check, the action is canceled and immediately replaced by the forced panic action. Oh, I remember. Yeah, our Marine had this talent. The Overkill talent lets you replace the effect of a panic result of 11 or higher by the Overkill effect. When triggering Overkill, you must immediately attack your enemies, and you won't stop until all your enemies in sight are broken. That's a combat rule term. Also, other PCs in short range of you must make an immediate panic roll. It's never good seeing the tough guy freak out, right? The tough one freak out. Because now you're like, if you're not the tough one and the tough one's freaking out, that means you might, have a panic thing too. So yeah, a lot of interesting stuff here. More rules. Okay, all right, here we are, the xenomorphs. Oh, we'll get to those. Okay, so vehicles, damage to vehicles. All right, let me zoom back out. There's a lot of good stuff in this book, I think. Weapons and armor, gear, the gear section. A lot of cool looking stuff here. I like heavy weapons. Oh, here we go. We got the lifters, suits and armor, other equipment, computers, data storage, and such. Vehicles, medical supplies, pharmaceuticals. You can get like never sleep pills. You can get stim packs, but you could develop an addiction to them. But yeah, they give you recreational drugs. That's funny. Food and drink. Oh, here's some vehicles. Okay, that's pretty neat looking. Ground vehicles. That's what they used in Aliens, the second one. When they moved everyone into the place, the drop ship. Okay, it's cool. So there is, let's see, faster than light travel. But even at faster than light travel, these distances are vast. So I think you have to do the hypersleep thing. There's a whole section on living in space. And again, this is not, Star Trek ideal utopia, everything's great in space. This is, no, space is the enemy and it wants to kill you. Space itself is hostile. And then you put all the stuff in it that also wants to kill or eat you. Okay, it's kind of different aspects of space life. Spacecraft, this is good. I remember the space battle rules were pretty simple. Um, we had a couple fights with other types of ships, not xenomorphs obviously, but more Earth-based antagonists. Okay, and look at these ships, right? These aren't like large, elegant, flashy ships. These are very bare bones, Spartan, utilitarian type ships. These aren't really flashy. Yeah, because another one, yeah, definitely not meant to like impress someone with its look, and it's just a tool. Space combat chapter was cool. Remember that? Different actions for different people in different roles. The pilot, the sensor operator, the gunner, damage to the ship. These rules. These are. They call the DM or the game master game mother because mother was the name of the AI program that would essentially administer or manage a ship or a space station. It was called mother. So I don't know. I didn't go with that. I'm just a DM. Yeah. So I hear limit their resources. Right. That's part of it. Bring horrible death. I like that. Let them breathe. Sometimes you need a break, right? Sometimes, excuse me. Sometimes, in order to build stress, you need to make it seem like things are okay, and then all of a sudden hit them with, "Haha, no, it's not okay. Everything's terrible. You thought it was okay, but it's not." Yeah, theme, space, horror, action. Yeah, there's going to be some action. This is a combat-based game. More information on stress and horror. There's three stages of fear, dread, terror, and horror. Relieving stress. Like as you build stress, there's ways to kind of relieve that. Like you get a full night's sleep. If you get a good full night's sleep, that'll help relieve stress. Certain like successes, like if your team gets a big success, they can kind of like let go of some of that stress. And they have rules for that. All right, so we got some NPCs, and they talk about here the types of play, cinematic and campaign. I'm going to get into that here in a moment when we get to the Xenomorph chapters to talk about that, because it's really specific to the Xenomorphs, what that's about. And we have a whole section of different governments and corporations, because the galaxy is now is kind of split up. The three world empire, the United Americas, the Union of Progressive Peoples, independent core system colonies, interstellar. This is like a bureau, the Interstellar Commerce Commission. They're making sure trade is happening properly by the books. And yeah, Wayland Yutani, everyone's favorite and bad guy corporation. Because they're the ones that are like looking for these xenomorphs. Hey, we want the xenomorphs. We want to be able to manufacture or research, experiment, create weapons, that sort of thing. La Salle Bionational, I think that's like a competitor to Wayland Yutani. And we have a section of different planetary. So he doesn't have every single planet listed, but it has some key ones like Sol, like Earth. A little bit about the Earth system and different other systems you can kind of take a look at. We're not going to dive too much into these, but yeah, they're there. You can use them as okay. Here's where the characters are going to go today, or for this mission. All the way out to the frontier systems. Some good examples of frontier systems. And the art in this book's really good too. Oh, look. All right, here we are. Alien species. Okay. All right, the xenomorphs. Now, xenomorphs, you have to think about what kind of game you're going to be running. If we're looking at a like a shorter adventure, like a series of sessions that make up one adventure, yeah, xenomorphs are great antagonists, right? For example, ship breaks down, crew didn't know that one of the containers has an egg, its face hugged somebody, now we have a full xenomorph running around, right? The ship's and destroying things in the ship. That'd be a good example. Or the players need to investigate a settlement, very much like the first Alien movie. We're checking out this settlement. Oh, surprise! The settlement's been overrun by xenomorphs, and those sessions are going to be resolved or revolve around resolving that conflict. Now, if we're thinking more grand campaign style, where we're kind of having an open based, this is going to be a long running campaign, we can't have the xenomorphs be the main antagonist for every single thing, because that's first, it's going to get dry, it's going to get boring and dry, and second, you need to think about other antagonists that the players can deal with, and then put in xenomorphs at key moments. For example, in the game I ran, I think we went three, maybe four sessions of play before they saw a xenomorph. They were dealing with corrupt scientists who were, who were engaged in some kind of fraud or some kind of scheme. Corrupt, officials and bureaucrats. I think even an android or two in disguise. So they were dealing with those antagonists and the plots around those antagonists before we even saw a xenomorph. In fact, there's a running joke among our play group that they would complain, it's an alien game. How come we haven't seen any aliens? And then I put the aliens in, and they like, oh no, and they ran away. Like they could, they just like upright retreated as soon as like these first aliens came through. So you got to think about what kind of game you're going to run before you really get into these aliens. And I think what we'll do, because we've kind of gone over a lot for this for today, I'm going to hold this going over the xenomorphs, and as far as how they relate to gameplay for the next video. Talked a lot about a lot of good stuff with Alien, how it works, where it's at, and then for the next one, we're going to be getting into the xenomorphs, how we can use those. Just a preview, they're horrible. They are terrible creatures, and when if they get too close, that's when things get bad. Like the key is to try to keep them off at a distance. But again, I don't want to. We'll talk about that next time. Well, thanks for hanging out and talking about Alien with me, and we'll see you next time. Take care.